Hi, I'm Bob Pavitt, sometimes called Uncle Bob. About 11 years ago, Barb, my wife, and I packed 5 young kids in one old station wagon and drove the 6,000 miles from Sarasota, Florida to a new life in Juneau, Alaska. After about a week in this new and strange environment, I got to thinking about the decision we had made and the startling differences between our life in subtropical Florida and subarctic Alaska, and some of the things we had seen on our long trip north. So late on a June evening in 1966, while watching the sun refuse to set over beautiful Auk Bay, I did what folk singers have always done when they had something to say. I made a song about it. It's the story of our trip north and what we found at the end of it, and it's called the Ice Blue Mendenhall Glacier Blues. Rainy days, chilly nights, mighty long way from Florida. I got the ice blue Mendenhall Glacier Blues. Left Sarasota the last of May, shed a tear or two. Got a taste of that highway dust, feeling sad and blue. Tallahassee on the 1st of June, on to Baton Rouge. Out around tires on the Pontiac, make it mighty hard to cruise. Then to Texas to see our friends, really like their pad. 6 little Conroys and their pretty ma and their ragtime planking dad. Left Uvalde at the break of day, sagebrush and mesquite. Saw a lot of that Texas range, felt that Texas heat. Drove to El Paso and took a ride to old Mexico. Ciudad Juarez is a dirty town and it ain't no place to go. Out in the desert in the burning sun, wish we had a brew. Gila Bend in the afternoon with the temperature at 112. California to the town of Van Nuys, really need the rest. Visiting people and Disneyland as Owen and Marion's guests. 2 days really ain't enough when you're having fun, but we gotta get going to Northern Cal, Oregon and Washington. British Columbia's a beautiful place, even in the rain. Fraser River is a mighty stream flowing down the mountain range. On to Prince George and we had a blowout coming down the hill. Church next morning to thank our God that we didn't all get killed. Then to Prince Rupert to meet our ship. Rooms are mighty rare. Stayed with the Ottos and ate their grub. There's nice folks everywhere. June 13th on the Malaspina, watch that sun go down. Ketchikan, Wrangell, and Petersburg on the 14th, Juneau town. Finding housing when you got 5 kids gets to be quite tough. No matter how much you're willing to spend, you'll find it ain't enough. Food is higher than I ever seen, furniture is higher yet. Clothing prices are clear out of sight, and we got a lot to get. Juneau, Alaska's a mighty strange place for cracker folks like me. It don't get dark till 11 p.m. and the sun comes up at 3. Still, I'll admit that it's fascinating, though I sit and moan. We'll give it a year, and if we survive, maybe we'll call it home. Rainy days, chilly nights, mighty long way from Florida. I got the ice blue Mendenhall glacier blues. In 1918, a man named Pat O'Cotter, who lived in Seward, had 18 of his poems published in a book called Rhymes of a Roughneck. O'Cotter, who had been a prospector, miner, railroad laborer, roughneck, and construction worker, had been in Alaska since the 1890s and had some pretty firm ideas on what life on the last frontier was all about. In the late 20s, he became a U.S. Marshal and was fatally wounded in a gunfight in Fairbanks in 1932. Paul Roseland, who homesteads at Portage, put one of O'Cotter's poems to music. It's called The 30-06 on the Wall and relates the bitterness of an old sourdough who has had his fill of partners, women, and even dogs. He relies now only on his trusty rifle and minces no words in telling us why. For a good many years I've been knocking around, and I always had plenty of pals. I've had a few partners of various types and a bunch of affairs with the gals. I've staked some good claims with those partners of mine. I thought they were square till I found they were trying to cross me, those gee-chocker pups, and fast-talk me out of my ground. I've run with the women in various camps all over this great land up here, but I never found one I could trust to be true or stay with me more than a year. Way back in the 90s when I was a kid, I went with a woman named Flo. In Fairbanks she lifted my dogs and my poke and left me at 60 below. I've had lots of dogs, but the dogs always died, or else the poor devils got killed. When you like 'em and lose 'em, it leaves a big hole that it seems for a while can't be filled. So I'm through with women and partners and dogs, I know 'cause I've fussed with them all. I'll stick with the one that I know is true blue, that 30-06 on the wall. She stood by my shoulder and stopped the brown bear. She keeps the cash full in the fall. She speaks the one language that claim jumpers know, and she craves no attention at all. I'm getting old now and I'm sotting my ways. I don't loosen up like I did. I'm slow to make friends and I'm slower to trust than I was when I was a kid. So goodbye to women and goodbye to dogs and goodbye to partners and all. I'll stick with the pal that I know I can trust, that 30-06 on the wall. There's a mountain on the west side of the Mendenhall Glacier called Mount Stroller White. You can see the base of it behind my back in the cover photo on this album. It was named after Elmer John White, a well-known Alaskan newspaperman who spent 32 years living and writing about the North Country. One of Stroller White's most famous stories was about his scientific discovery of the ice worm, a creature which can be found in chunks of glacial ice. Although some skeptics thought that Stroller had made up the whole thing, it must be true, because to this very day, a huge ice worm takes an active part in the parade and other festivities that are part of the annual Ice Worm Festival at Cordova. True or not, the ice worm has become an Alaskan creature renowned in story and song, and it is well known that strange things happen in the north at the time that the ice worm nests. There's a husky-dusky maiden in the Arctic. In her igloo she waits for me in vain. Oh, I think I'll put my mucklucks on and ask her if she'll wed me when the ice worms nest again. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears are roaming o'er the plain. In the shadow of the pole I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the ice worms nest again. For our wedding feast we'll have seal oil and blubber. In our kayak we will roam the bounding main. She will sit there eating muktuk, but I'll love her. We'll be happy when the ice worms nest again. Then one night at 2:30, coming back to my igloo, and I've had enough Makula now for 10. She'll be waiting for me there with the jawbone of a bear, and she'll beat me till the ice worms nest again. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears are roaming o'er the plain. In the shadow of the pole I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the ice worms nest again. Oh, the day is coming near when a-fishing I will hear all the walruses now click their teeth with joy. With her hooligan and shawl she'll be waiting at the door, and she'll greet me with a bouncing baby boy. In the land of the pale blue snow, where it's 99 below, and the polar bears are roaming o'er the plain. In the shadow of the pole I will clasp her to my soul. We'll be happy when the ice worms nest again. Shorty Gustafson lived near Wasilla in the Matanuska Valley. He had come to Alaska from Sweden as a youth in 1915, so by the late 30s, when the new settlers from Michigan came to the valley, Shorty was a sourdough, with the sourdough's typical disdain for newcomers, or chichacos as they're called in Alaska. Although Shorty, who died in 1970 at the Pioneers' Home in Sitka, wrote many songs, this was the one that he was known for in south central Alaska, and for years people would call out lines from the song as they passed him on the street. I learned the song from my friend Paul Roseland, who was also of Swedish and Norwegian stock, and between Shorty and Paul I always figure it must be almost sacrilegious to sing it without a hint of a Scandinavian accent. The song is called Chichaco, but is better known in Alaska as Where Do They Come From and Where Do They Go? We're among the thousands who come up north. We're seeking for fortune, but also for sport. We boarded the steamer all happy and gay, and landed in Seward the 19th of May. Where do they come from and where do they go? There must be places that we never know. You've got to have bacon and beans, that is all. And crawl in your cabin when snow starts to fall. If you've been a failure, well, here is your chance. Go up in the valley and get you a ranch. There's gold in the mountains and fields of coal. Rabbits in the woods, that's the way we were told. Where do they come from and where do they go? There must be places that we never know. You've got to have bacon and beans, that is all. And crawl in your cabin when snow starts to fall. Make your home in Alaska, put this in your mind. The hunting and trapping and fishing are fine. There's moose in the timber and fish in the bay. Sheep in the mountains, that's what they say. Where do they come from and where do they go? There must be places that we never know. You've got to have bacon and beans, that is all. And crawl in your cabin when snow starts to fall. If you don't like Alaska, you don't like the style, just bundle your parcels, be gone with a smile. There's a train goes to Seward, so be on your way. That's what you'll hear all the sourdough say. Where do they come from and where do they go? There must be places that we never know. There's a ship leaving Seward, so hop on your way. There's no one to hold you, you don't have to stay. The 50,000 square mile archipelago running from the gateway city of Ketchikan to Yakutat on the Gulf of Alaska is known in the Great Land as the Panhandle, the Banana Belt, or simply as Southeast. Its majestic vistas consist of fjords, glaciers, mountains, and picturesque towns reflected in the blue waters of the Inside Passage. The only thing that keeps Southeast from being a heaven on earth is the precipitation that falls on the area almost constantly. This ample moisture, of course, accounts for the lush spruce and hemlock rainforests that make up America's largest national forest. But even for the most dedicated Southeasterner, it sometimes gets old. This anonymous ditty pays tribute to the beauty of Southeastern sunshine. I love dear old Southeast Alaska, with mist round her mountains so tall. I love all the fjords and the glaciers, the rain though I love most of all. Rain, 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 it it's just like that soggy old plain in Spain. Rain, 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 and then it starts drizzling again. For 40 days out of the heavens, for 40 nights out of the sky, it rains, then it pours down in earnest. I ask you, why can't it be dry? Rain, 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 it's not so depressing because we know soon as it stops, then we'll be up to our eyeballs in snow. For many years prior to the purchase of Alaska by the United States in 1867, Sitka, or New Archangel as it was then called, was the capital of Russian America. Alexander Baranov, as the administrator of the Russian-American Trading Company, was literally Lord of Alaska, and despite earlier bloody confrontations with the Tlingit Indians of southeast Alaska, had established a cautiously peaceful coexistence with the native people, many of whom were converted to Christianity and the Russian Orthodox Church. The fact that the Russian sailors, trappers, and traders and the Tlingit maidens found each other attractive is evidenced by the Russian influence still very strong in southeast Alaska. Such names as Peratrovich, Filimonov, Borotkin, and Charovsky are common among Alaska native families, many of whom are devout members of the Russian Orthodox faith. A popular Russian song of the 1850s is about a love-struck young man following the object of his affections down the street in a swirling snowstorm and calling on her to stop and wait for him so he can admire her beauty and tell her of his undying love. The song is called Miechelitsa, which means the snowstorm. Улице мечелице мечет, за мечелице моя миленька идет. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радость на тебя. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радость на тебя. На твою ли на приятную красоту, на твою лишь той на белое листо. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радость на тебя. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радость на тебя. Красота твоя с ума меня свела и сушила добра молодца меня. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радость на тебя. Ты постой, постой, красавица моя, дай мне наглядеться радостно тебя. Gold was discovered in Juneau in 1880, and a thriving town and industry were well established by the time of the famous gold rush through Skagway and Dyea over the Chilkoot Trail and into the Klondike in 1898, when thousands of fortune seekers from around the world headed north. The gold fever persisted, and when rich strikes were made at Dawson and Circle and nuggets were found lying on the beach at Nome, eager prospectors started fanning out in all directions, hoping to stake their own bonanzas. The Kayakuk River is a branch of the mighty Yukon. The trail leading north from the village of Kayakuk was stampeded 3 times by gold-seeking Chichacos, but aside from a little color, no substantial strike was ever made there. This plaintive song tells that not all of the fortune seekers of the 90s returned home with their pokes full. Some, it seems, never returned at all. To the Kayakuk Trail in July '98, I came up the Yukon when the ship brought in freight. With a pick and a shovel, my pan and my grub, 400 miles in that rusty old tub. I promised sweet Peggy I'd make her a ring from the gold I'd dig up before it was spring. But fall turned to winter a year since I sailed, and I ain't found no gold on the Kayakuk Trail. I'll never see home or my sweet Peggy Lee. Chichacos, take heed and listen to me. You're better off fishing or setting in jail than digging for gold on the Kayakuk Trail. I dug and I dug, but I never found gold. Winter is here, in the north it is cold. All wrapped in my blankets and shivering with pain, thinking that mining wasn't my game. My fire burns low in the cold Arctic night. I know I'll be dead before it is light. So miners, take warning and learn from my tale. There just ain't no gold on the Kayakuk Trail. I'll never see home or my sweet Peggy Lee. Chichacos, take heed and listen to me. You're better off fishing or setting in jail than digging for gold on the Kayakuk Trail. Americans have always poked fun at the things that they hold most dear, and Alaskans are no exception. Satirical poems and songs and humorous takeoffs on serious subjects have traditionally been part of American folklore. People who live in this state, especially those who remain long enough to really be called Alaskans, have a continuing love affair going with the great land, not only with its spectacular glaciers, mountains, and shores, but also with its harsh winters, miserable mosquitoes, fierce bears, and frequent earthquakes. This song, Origin Unknown, is done to the tune of Pete Seeger's classic, This Land Is Your Land. It's called The Great Land, or this land is your land, it sure ain't my land.
This land is your land, it sure ain't my land. From the frozen Northland to the unpaved Alaskan, from the ice at Barrow to the Wrangell Narrows. This land was made for you, not me. Hear the sourdoughs cussin', the skeeters buzzin', the bears a-growlin', and the wolves a-howlin'. My car is stallin', my wife is bawlin'. This land was made for you, not me. This land is your land, it sure ain't my land. From the frozen Northland to the dusty Alaskan, from the Wrangell Narrows to the ice at Barrow. This land was made for you, not me. The earth is quaking, the building's shaking, the tide is rising, and the boat's capsizing. My house is battered, my nerves are shattered. This land is sinking in the sea. This land is your land, it sure ain't my land. From the frozen Northland to the unpaved Alaskan, from the Wrangell Narrows to the ice at Barrow. This land was made for you, not me.
Beautiful as an Alaskan winter can be, there is always a touch of nostalgia when the first snowflakes signal the end of summer. My friend Paul Roseland wrote this song in the fall of 1958 when he was trapping in south central Alaska and living in a cabin about 40 miles north of Talkeetna. It is one of the few really pretty Alaskan songs. Snowflakes are falling and winter they'll bring. Moose are a-matin', I hear antlers ring. Wolves are a-howlin', their furs are in prime. My dogs are all eager to hit the trap line. Alaska, Alaska, I hear the wind call. Summer is gone and it's getting fall. Snowflakes are falling and winter they'll bring. I'll say goodbye summer, I'll see you next spring. I've cashed up my victuals, I got my moose in. I've patched up the cabin to keep out the wind. The forest is turning a pretty gold brown. The leaves have been falling and cover the ground. Out in the woods you can hear my axe ring, cutting the wood that will last me till spring. Snowflakes are falling and winter they'll bring. I'll say goodbye summer, I'll see you next spring.
wolves a-howlin' round my cabin door. The squirrels, they sneak in, eat the crumbs off the floor. I'll build up my fire and close the front door and say goodbye, summer, I'll see you once more. Alaska, Alaska, I hear the wind call. Summer is gone and it's getting fall. Snowflakes are falling and winter they'll bring. I'll say goodbye, summer, I'll see you next spring.